do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
The Pinky and the Brain. Yes, Pinky and the Brain. One is a genius, the other's insane. They're laboratory mice. The genes have been spiced. They're Pinky and the Brain. Brain, 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 brain. Before each night is done, their plan will be unfurled by the dawning of the sun. They'll take over the world. They're Pinky and the Brain. Yes, Pinky and the Brain. Their twilight campaign is easy to explain. To prove their mousy worth, they'll overthrow the earth. They're Pinky and the Brain. Brain, 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 brain.
I had to do it, family. I do not own rights to this music. Pace family, what's going on with you? My name is Keisha. I'm the owner of A Way of Life. I am a career and business coach using astrology. And today, I'm going to be going in talking about Mercury and Aquarius. Now, I know I've been posting about it here and there, but this definitely deserves a longer conversation because it's a 3-month transit. And there's a lot going on here. So, I definitely wanted to go in a little bit deeper about what this is and what we can expect and some different aspects of it all. So, Mercury in Aquarius on January 2nd will go retrograde January 14th. It will retrograde in Capricorn on January 26th. Then on the 15th of February, it'll go direct and enter back into Aquarius until March the 9th. So that's a pretty long time. And I think it was even more important to go into this a little bit deeper with that Capricorn connection because it went into Mercury and Aquarius on the 2nd, which was the same day that we had the new moon in Capricorn, the first new moon of the year. And there's a lot going on with that, right? And so it's important for us to break down these energies from a bigger perspective so that we can understand what is being asked of us at this time. So Mercury will be in a Saturn-ruled sign for 3 months. Now, Mercury and Saturn are actually friends, even though most people would beg to differ, especially when you're talking about it from a Capricorn perspective, because Capricorn is an earth sign, Mercury is an air-ruled sign, but it also rules Virgo, which is another earth sign. So there's a lot going on there with that. They both are about business, right? Mercury rules self-made energy, the hustler. I talked about this various different times, in various different ways. The self-made energy, you know, the marketing aspects of it, the social media aspects of it. But essentially, this is a business-oriented sign, as well as Saturn, right? Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, is business, you know, structures and systems, planning, and getting things done. I think if that was the only thing that we could really pull from to say, well, what really does Mercury and Saturn have in common? It's like that they like to get shit done, especially when it comes to business. And so then when you incorporate the Virgo and Mercurial perspective, even that is about work. Virgo, being a Mercury ruled sign, rules the sixth house. The sixth house is all about your daily work routine, how you work, how you prefer to work, how you like getting things done. And then just as on another note to that, is very analytical. It spots patterns, right? And even Saturn likes patterns, essentially. And so in this way, they really do get along. They like intelligent ideas. They're versatile and adaptable. And even though people are like, Saturn is not versatile and adaptable. Well, Saturn as a Capricorn sign is cardinal, right? And so maybe not when you want them to be versatile and adaptable. They're not. But as a sign of cardinal energy, they do get shit done. I mean, this is about the mountain goat, right? And so if you know anything about the mountain goat, they climb mountains, like quite literally. I've seen it. They're out there climbing this mountain like, I'm fixing to get to where I got to get to. I don't know about you. And so essentially, yes, they may do it very differently than a Mercury ruled sign, but they are definitely about getting things done. And so on a low vibration, there's skepticism, back and forth communication, especially if one person is in a different place. There's a power struggle there, right? Saturn with that power and authority and controlling energy. Yeah, for sure. You can definitely say that there's got to be an equal playing field, right? Even a Virgo is going to take their time and be like, yeah, I hear you, but I need proof. I need to see it. I need you to tell me the details so that I can understand what you're saying. And then maybe I'll make a move, or Virgo's going to be like, well, how are we making this better from what it was even, because it's a very, Virgo is about service, right? Service to the people. And an Aquarius is all about the people, right? It is the people. And so in that sense, even you can say they get along quite well. But if they are not in accord, or you can't get your point across, that's where I think you begin to see the miscommunication. So I think overall, as we get through all this energy and I start talking more about it and breaking it down, what you'll begin to see on a big picture is that Mercury is really learning how to get grounded here from a Gemini perspective, right? A Gemini is a fast moving energy. Even if you take Aquarius from the modern ruling energy, which is Uranus, these are very fast moving energies. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But essentially, we're talking about getting grounded in your ideas and your genius, innovative ideas, and really building something that's going to last over time. Right? And so Mercury here is learning how to get grounded. Another way that I looked at this is the ideas, the mindset from this perspective is like, you guys know I like my Marvel movies. So, I got to go in. When I thought about this, especially with Spider-Man being out, you already know we're going to tap into that energy as well. But the Green Goblin and Thanos are the two people who come to mind the most when I think about this, which is why I played the Pinky and the Brain song, the theme song at the beginning of this, because this is like the mad scientist, the villain, the good ideas, the bad ideas, the devil on the shoulder, the angel on the shoulder, right? The twin energy, seeing things from all different perspectives. And really understanding, well, what really was Green Goblin and Thanos's perspective? Understanding their perspective. And are they really the bad guy, or is it more so about when it's time to get things done, whether it's in a manner, because, you know, Aquarius lacks emotion, right? That's what most people will say. But essentially, if you are in your emotions, we also know that we're not making decisions based off of being practical, realistic, logical even, you know, which could lead to some bad decision making. And so you have to step into your Green Goblin and Thanos energy. Any of the villains, you know, they vilify the villains as if their perspective is not valid because of the way they're perceived to be on the screen. But if you put that into perspective and look at it from a sense of, no, it's time to get something done. You know, we are resolving issues and problems here with this Aquarius energy. You know, we're mastering something here, Saturn energy. And we're taking those ideas and we're getting things done, essentially. And so another way to look at the Green Goblin and Thanos, even though we really want to vilify them, is more so about what in your life that seems like it's a monster, right? Or that it might be a bad thing to do, that you need to accomplish right now in getting that done. Thanos was determined, okay, of, you know, making sure that 50% of the world was eliminated. And if you don't deal with that problem and eliminate that process, whether you agree to it or not, you really have to begin to understand that if you are not indulging in those thoughts and dealing with that perspective, ultimately, what are you ignoring when it comes to changing your life for the better? Right? Everything has its place, and in its place is everything. We really need to be able to know the difference between that. And that's what Mercury is teaching us, right? Sometimes you got to make a decision to do something for the greater good that might not be what we want, essentially. But the only thing that is consistent is change. And if nobody's willing to make that change, ultimately we will end up being slaves again in some way, shape, or form to our ego, to our perspective that keeps us from evolving, right? And so that is another perspective that Mercury is trying to teach us. Everybody really likes to vilify Mercury. It's very two-faced. And it's the magician. And like, shut the fuck up. This doesn't have anything to do with being two-faced. It's about making real hardcore decisions for change, okay? And you got to be able to see things from all perspectives in order to do that without being judgmental. If it's something that's necessary that needs to get done, get her done. And sometimes that might mean letting go of some friends, some groups of people that you might really like. Like, you don't have no problems with them, but they are not helping you, Saturn, bring value into your life. Cut them off and let them go. Just saying. Okay, so I went on a whole tangent with that, but it's a very real process. So Saturn excludes, Mercury edits. Saturn says no to things. Mercury looks at the details. Saturn can be very sinister. Mercury is very skeptical. Saturn masters, and Mercury wants to learn. I was listening to, you know what, I'm not even going to try to remember his name because I can't. My brain's not working, but you know me, I'm always listening to something on YouTube. And he was talking about how the times are changing and what we're going to have to do to survive. And I think a lot more people will have more conversations like this. There might even be reasons to have more conversations like this through news, media, information coming up around jobs, business, maybe jobs going out of business, jobs meaning businesses going out of business, and that leaves you out of a job, or you just choose to leave because of, going back to that Green Goblin and Thanos, right? It's time to cut it out. It's not giving you any value. You've given it enough time and thought, and it's just a no. Like, it's just not working, right? And even for businesses, right? We know that business, especially small businesses, which I did a video on this as well, talking very in-depthly about how small businesses are the businesses that keep America going, right? And so if they're going out of business, how are we as a people going to be able to continue to bring in income, right? And so I feel like more themes like this may come out. If you haven't listened to my Mercury and Capricorn video, I definitely go back and listen to that. There was a part in there where I talked about businesses having to merge and things of that nature due to all these changes, financial changes specifically, that we've had over the last few years because of the pandemic. Another thing that could come out is that we're talking about Aquarius here. And when you think sinister, these are the lower vibrations of Aquarius, right? Where they feel like they don't need us anymore as humans. So we could see more things coming out about businesses starting to hire robots. Now, I've talked about this before as well. And the start of that and what's that going to look like? And I mean, the bottom line is, like it, love it, don't like it, hate it, who cares? You can have that conversation if you choose to. Essentially, it is a waste of time. What you need to be doing is having the conversation about how are you going to survive now, right? What are you going to do? And I think whether this conversation comes up or not, I'm enlightening you. This is going to be a conversation at some point that we should strongly consider and ask ourselves during this time with this energy, what are we going to do as the people to survive? Okay. And essentially, whatever ideas that we're coming up with are going to be things with a strong foundation and will stand the test of time because of Saturn. And we are talking over time. That means there's going to be some struggles. Saturn, Rome wasn't built in a day, And so as you're making these plans, even maybe rewriting some plans that you had, perhaps some of the things that you've learned is that you need a group of people, right? You're going to have to sacrifice that Aquarian loneliness, I can do this shit all by myself energy. Even Mercury can be that way. And say, who's going to be on my team? And start really building that and getting some real traction with some of those things now. In modern astrology, Mercury does well in Aquarius because Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. And Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. Now, on a low vibration, depression, pessimism, science, and disregard to emotions and arguments due to rigid thinking, are definitely going to be some things that can come up, right? But on a high vibration, this is future thinking, quirky even, logical, very organized, great at facilitating groups or bringing people together, public speaking even, counseling, because you're able to be detached, right? There are times where, that detachedness comes into play, being very productive, solutions here. Astrology definitely is going to be a major theme. Research here could be a theme. Being very friendly. Now, when we get to more Uranus stuff, it's very controversial topics. Social justice is going to be a theme, but intellectual debates. These are very good people who are very good at icebreakers, starting conversations, very intuitive, technology, stimulating conversations with others. When I thought about technology from this perspective, I really, really thought about mental health here. By way of being so intelligent, like your thoughts are too fast or things are happening at a rapid level and understanding within a person. These are what some of the mental health placements in astrology are based off of, right? And I think I did a video on this and went more in depth with Leah. I did a video with Leah, who was a mental health counselor. And I broke down all of the astrology mental health themes that were going to come up. That was last year. You can definitely see this theme being played out again this year. But what I thought about was the fact that Mercury, Aquarius, and Mercury is like being able to communicate with the computer, right? Mercury rules language, all different kinds of ways to communicate. And because we're talking about Aquarius from the Uranus perspective, we're talking about communication from the divine, right? So these are downloads from a higher perspective, a higher authority, the universe. And the code, like breaking codes here. To technology. And so sometimes it's really hard to work with people or even understand people, which is why you notice how a lot of technology people, they are like not people. They are not people. Like they are just like, I'd rather work with the computers and talk to them. They understand my language. If I do have to speak to a person, they only want to know what your problem is and how I can resolve that problem. Right. And in this sense, I always think of people with mental health issues because they also are on a different frequency this way. Most people will call them slow because that's what, we've made it as an understanding here on Earth. But, when we're talking about Uranus from a different perspective, they just speak a different language that we can't understand. Highly intelligent people. Sorry. They say animals have all of these senses and can sense things because they don't talk. So Mercury being the lower vibration of communication and Uranus being the higher vibration of communication here, ultimately we begin to understand each other in a way deeper level, which I really, really, really liked here. And I really, really think that we're going to come up with some really amazing, awesome solutions to things. Also, themes, math and science come up here. Accounting, having two jobs. This is the accountant during the day, astrologer at night. This is how the brain works. Again, bringing the brain and technology together in some way, shape, or form. Like, how to put astrology on your phone. Even though that's already a thing, that's just an example, right? How your thoughts connect to the internet, right? Okay. And just remember that there's codes that do that. We might see it on our phone as astrology, but on the back end, that's all numbers and science and math. It's math and numbers. Sorry. Learning, learning skills, how we learn. With Mercury, this is definitely about childhood education. And in a way, again, going back to the miscommunication between Mercury and Aquarius, or even Saturn in that case, what's really happening is our learning styles too that need to be taken into account. Mercury's learn the way children do, by watching, observing, and then acting it out. They don't necessarily need to learn, go to school to learn, right? That's why Mercury is considered self-made energy, because they can learn anything by watching, right? They don't, what do you call that? Audio, video learners, right? That's how I learn. I actually quite literally hate school, but that's a conversation for another day, right? And then Aquarius might learn just through like numbers and code, downloads, and who and what freaking school system is set up for us to learn that way, which is intentional, by the way. Also a completely different conversation for another day, but you get the gist of where I'm going with all of this. Some people might learn in groups with a Mercury and Aquarius, or groups, but very organized, right? Because of that Saturn energy. So structure here. Learning in a group, but there has to be structure. You can't just be yelling out answers and nah. And also wanting to contribute to society. So I think we can see a lot of like workers' rights coming up, especially if they freaking come out and say, yeah, we're just going to hire some robots to do all the work for us, which I really do think is coming sooner than later. But maybe even some business things coming up here, laws changing around that, right? I can see it all now. A lot of things coming out around business and working rights. All right. Mercury in Aquarius has the ability to look at life from different angles and get different perspectives. And I talked about this before, and I've been talking about this. This is the multiverse. I did a video talking about the winter solstice. And if you go back and listen to that video, I talked about how Pollux and the twins, the Gemini twins, which are Pollux and, of course I forgot his freaking name, the other twin, are mortal. One's mortal and one's immortal, right? And so this is why Gemini is able to understand things from a different different perspectives, because they're the messengers from the divine. And Saturn, which is why I talked about Thanos. And I said, we really have to be able to understand all perspectives to make good decisions. And being able to ground those ideas into real world things. So that's why Mercury's considered the magician, right? Because you're manipulating energy here, right? And we have to begin to understand. So you would want to see where Mercury is in your chart, what house it's in, to know how you do this. And it's going to be from a very different perspective, but how is it communicating with this Mercury and Aquarius energy? That's going to give you a lot of information on how to deal with this time right now, right? And get real grounded so that you can take action. Another theme here is stability, longevity over time. So we're building something that can stand the test of time, but we have to be patient. I was listening to this podcast where this guy was talking about how he can help you. And I mean, boy, oh boy, did he get me. I mean, he really talked to my whole entire soul. When I was listening to him, I heard what he was saying. I was ready to get on the goddamn phone and be like, okay, where do I sign up? Type of thing. And then at the end, what he said was, but I did this over a 12-year period of time. And again, this is going to be the lesson for Mercury and any air signs essentially, is that we have to understand that where you are right now is temporary. And as long as you have your plan, your goals, and you're doing what you need to do to accomplish that goal, you will succeed over time. Saturn rules time, you know? And there are always multiple timelines and things going on that we have to wrap up and deal with that may come up at different times that may affect what you got going on. And that can make it seem like you're not accomplishing your goals, but it's not true. It's just a period in time. And this is why I say this is the multiverse. But when you're looking at it from a movie and they're telling it to you from that perspective, like even The Matrix, you know, it's telling you what's actually happening, but from a different perspective. So you really have to be able to understand what it is that we're saying. And I'm going to just be real honest with you right now, whether you choose the red or the blue pill, you need to understand Mercury, the twins, Gemini, immortal, and mortal. That means that you are always operating on a human level, and you are always operating on a immortal level. You are a superhero. Now that we have that situated, then you also have to consider that you have different of yourselves and different timelines doing different things at different times. So in this case, when you bring it down to Earth and understand it from a 3D level and how that looks, is Saturn, timelines. Whenever I'm talking about astrology and I'm saying, like I did a post yesterday talking about Mercury and Aquarius, and it was very uplifting, and you know, it was super motivated, and like, yeah, that's what the fuck I want, right? Type of energy. But now I'm posting, if you feel like you need to go inward to do the work, and that's in a completely different energy, i.e., a completely different timeline and something else that is going on that you absolutely must do. On top of that, we have Mercury, Venus in retrograde that's been in retrograde. And I think I broke down the Jupiter and Pisces energy. There was 3 different dates there when I was talking about that energy, that it's going back 12 years, 24 years, and 36 years of gathering information of things that you need to wrap up, or maybe at that time you wasn't quite quite ready to take on the task in which was being brought to you. So you didn't even see it, but it's still there in the ethers and the energy, right? So like I can be talking about a transit and I'm giving you the high vibration and the low vibration. And you always have people be like, but that's not what's going on for my life. And that's not shut up. Then this isn't your part of the story. And this isn't the timeline that you're in. And this is not the time that you are going to experience this energy. If you want to experience this energy, then you need to understand how to manipulate it and work it for you. That means setting up a plan, making sure you're watching your plan, constantly checking in. That's what all retrogrades are about, right? Here in the real world, on an everyday level. You know, understanding what time it is for you to know and understand how to move and manipulate these energies here on Earth. You are a time traveler. How are you doing that? Well, you might have to eat a little bit better if you feel like you can't relate to me when I get to talking like this and you're like, I don't have deja vu. I don't have downloads. I beg to differ, but if you're not, then change your eating habits, right? Understand how to clear out your chakras, right? Get healthy first, right? Love yourself first, right? Know who you are first, right? And these things will begin to make more sense to you. The moment you start to get on your path of awakening, or even for the religious people, now that we understand that they are the same thing. If you go back and watch my winter solstice video, I broke it down quite lovely, I think. But now we understand that this is happening. It doesn't matter what religion you're in. Spirituality is just another word for religion, right? We're all going to experience these things in very different ways. So if you're not a spiritual person and you're a religious person, are you following your path? You know, are you doing all the things that you were told to do? Do you understand that book that you abide by? You know what I mean? So that you can see these things coming to you and how you're supposed to move and live your life. You got to have some kind of philosophy and make it a way of life. All right. You got to honor those things. Okay. And then as we are in this initiation process, which is why I'm now posting things that are like, well, you got to go inward and do the work. It's just a resting period, right? It's just a planning period, right? It's just a think tank, right? It's just a place, a place of solitude where you can go within yourself to find peace, to figure out your next steps. Now, in the real world, that's going to look entirely different. Of course, nobody can just freaking sit and do absolutely nothing, right? But that's just a different understanding in the real world that these things are happening unconsciously, right? You just might not know it. And for the people who are intentional with it, you make time for it, right? That's the difference between spirituality and religion. Things are happening unconsciously. You might not see these things because it's in a retrograde. It's unclear. There's miscommunication. There's all kinds of things happening. There's different timelines. You're wrapping up old cycles. You're still in the past, even though it's celebrated New Year's and it's 2022. I don't know. It's debatable. I still got a lot of 2021 shit going on. I'm still trying to understand. I'm still reflecting, reviewing. You know, however it's showing up for you, right? Whatever spectrum you're on, right? All it is knowing the difference between the two, right? That's it. That's it. But ultimately we're building this over time, right? So you already know retrogrades are about all the reworking, reflecting, revising, rethinking, changing something from the past, reflecting what you want in the future. And that's going to come with miscommunication. So check all your messages, check your text messages, Forgive people who are a little off, let it pass. You might have some issues around electricity with Uranus, internet with Mercury, even Aquarius, social media. You might be spending a lot of time on internet or in solitude. You really want to look back to see what was happening for you last February when we revisited this energy. And you might be repeating a lot of those things. Or maybe you're trying to figure out how to stop those things. You don't want to repeat them anymore. Maybe you're noticing that you repeated this shit before. Why? So you're figuring out the why. You're coming up with solutions to change whatever it is you need to change about you so that you don't experience that experience again. Okay? And on the same end of that, 11 months from now, which will be in December when 10 degrees of Mercury in Aquarius comes, you want to make sure that you are checking in to see if you've accomplished those plans, the plans that you're making for yourself right now. All right. And if you're not, you need to figure out why. What do you need to do different? How can you get there? Right. And essentially, that's just what it be, family. Sorry for the noise. They're out there doing some work, but I know I went on a bit of a tangent in here, but y'all already know I'm crazy. I love and appreciate every single one of y'all as usual. I hope this information